The economic and social problems caused by the ever-widening activities of man, which are no longer confined within national boundaries, have led 9 European countries to decide to solve their problems together. These countries are France, Germany, Denmark, Italy, Holland, Belgium, United Kingdom, Luxembourg, and Ireland. They form the European Community. Together, they have drawn up common rules to solve their common problems. These rules have been laid down in the treaties of Paris and Rome. The task of carrying out these treaties has been given to the European institutions. They don't replace the governments of the member countries, but act in certain fields where problems can no longer be solved at national level. The European Community is like a motor coach, following the road to Europe's future, with its straight runs and its hazards. The Commission is like the engine. It takes initiatives regarding common policies. The Council of Ministers takes the wheel, for it's they who decide in which direction community policy should be steered. The Parliament is like the passengers. The members of Parliament represent the 254 million Europeans, who thus have a democratic control over the route of the coach. The Economic and Social Committee, for its part, represents professional interests. The Court of Justice is the highway code. It makes sure that the coach doesn't overshoot the limits of the treaties. Thus, the institutions of the community are the Commission, the Council of Ministers, the Parliament and the Economic and Social Committee, and the Court of Justice. The Commission has 13 members, chosen by joint agreement among the 9 national governments. They are 2 German, 2 French, 2 Italian, and 2 British members, with 1 Belgian, 1 Dane, 1 Irish, 1 Luxembourg, and 1 Dutch member. Once chosen, they leave their respective national interest, so to speak, in the cloakroom, so that from now on they will only represent the community interest as a whole. The commissioners are appointed for a 4-year term. The Commission headquarters is in Brussels. It carries out its job with the help of a staff of European civil servants. The Council of Ministers consists of 9 members. It meets 3 or 4 times a month. Each government sends along the minister responsible for the subject under discussion that day. If, for example, the subject is wheat, then the ministers of agriculture will be meeting. The meetings take place in Brussels or Luxembourg. The European Parliament comprises 198 members, who, until there are direct elections, are chosen from members of the national parliaments. In the chamber, they sit according to their political affiliations and not according to their nationality. They are divided into 6 groups, representing the major political and ideological inclinations in Europe. The Parliament meets in Strasbourg or Luxembourg, where it has its own secretariat. The interests of the workers, employers, and other social groups are represented by the Economic and Social Committee. This is an advisory body of members who are chosen by the Council of Ministers. The Court of Justice consists of 9 judges nominated by the governments for a 6-year period. The court makes sure that the treaties, as well as the regulations, directives and decisions enacted by the Council of Ministers and the Commission, are respected. It sits in Luxembourg. Being aware of the importance of European unification, the 9 heads of state or government have decided to meet 3 or 4 times a year, although this is not called for in the treaties. This is the European Council. It strengthens the unity of the community and steers its general policy. The Commission is the engine which takes the initiatives. But how? Each of the 13 members of the Commission is given responsibility for 1 or more sections of community work. Then, for example, if the Commissioner dealing with consumer protection decides to initiate a proposal, he doesn't do it on his own. Aided by civil servants, he consults experts in the field, the trade unions, representatives of industry or consumers, and welfare organizations from the 9 member countries. The Commissioner then puts his ideas to his colleagues, who may, or may not, give their approval. Thus, the Commission's proposals are collective, and democracy is respected. Once the various points of view have been noted, the text of the proposal is drafted and the Commission forwards it to the body which, to continue our analogy, holds the steering wheel of the coach, the Council of Ministers. But before the Council takes any decisions, it wants to know what the passengers think. First, the proposal is discussed by the Economic and Social Committee, which represents a large number of Europeans, workers, employers, and professionals. Then, all of the 254 million Europeans are represented by the members of the European Parliament, and they must now give their opinion. At this stage, objections are still possible, and the draft can still be modified. Democratic consultation is therefore respected all along the line. Now, the draft text, accompanied by the comments of Parliament and the Economic and Social Committee, is submitted to the Council of Ministers. So, what do the Council members do? They try to reach agreement, but this can take a long time. When they don't succeed at first, they have a marathon session, as the journalists like to call it. With the Commission present as guardian of the common interest, the ministers adopt a text which will become binding on the 9 member countries. So, is everything running smoothly now? No. The coach won't start without fuel, and that's the budget, which is voted each year. 93.68% of this budget is spent on common policies. Only 6.32% can be called the running costs. And for 1975, these worked out at about 85 pence for each person in the community. Now, what happens if, during the journey, a citizen or a company believes he or it has been unfairly treated? Well, the Highway Code comes into action. The Court of Justice judges with reference to the treaties. Even the institutions or the member states themselves may be taken to court. This is how the European institutions work, and we have seen there is in fact a permanent dialogue between the community institutions. The next step forward is the direct election of members of the European Parliament. This will strengthen the demands of MPs to be given greater powers. However, new tasks are not always accepted without some reservations. No doubt, traditions still stand as obstacles. But this proves that the European community is alive and that the practical construction of Europe depends on the will of its people. The final achievement of European unity rests with them.